Hey guys, and welcome to another video. So as you may or may not know, I have done a lot since Heart of Thorns released of decorating. This is one of the guild hall features. This is probably one of the most untapped areas of potential in Guild Wars 2 right now. In my humble opinion, the decorating system could be absolutely huge. I actually think that ArenaNet's method of tying these decoration ideas with social guild areas rather than individual player housing could have an awful lot of benefit. There is an idea where in Guild Wars 2 you spend a lot of time in your guild hall because you spend all your time building different things and admiring one another's creations, but we don't see the average player doing that. Today I want to talk about why. Now, earlier in the week I did a video on scribing and the issues there. Scribing is very much involved with the decoration system because it's through scribing you get many decorations, but decorations on its own as an individual system does have a lot of very deficient areas. I want to give you guys my top 10 areas that if they were improved, I believe would make decorating kind of insanely amazeballs. Now, as I said, I've already done a lot of it. I've built towers, I've built different PvP arenas, I've built jumping puzzles, and I've even had a hand in what you're seeing in the background right now, which is our current guild hall, a super adventure box themed guild hall where I built like a giant field and some areas that other people came along and touched up. I'm not the best at it, but I do understand it, and I do know, I think, best where ArenaNet should be focusing if they still even have a guild team or people who are appropriate to focus on something like this. So let's jump straight into it. I would say there are already some pretty wild things you can achieve with decorating. Hopefully in the background you can see some footage of a balloon-filled guild hall. An old friend of mine from a previous guild I was in showed me this a while ago, complete with a little mini game he was going to be playing in the water of this guild hall. You can already make some pretty extreme effects, but it's very limited, and I hope to show you those limits here and how to improve them. So, in descending order of what I would consider to be the biggest game changers versus the least biggest game changers, number 10, see other players' blueprints before placing. So what do I mean by this? Well, I already mentioned early on in the video that instead of doing individual player housing, ArenaNet decided to do their decoration system in guild halls, which are social places and areas that lots of people can participate in what's going on. So decorating could be a very, very cool feature where lots of people, an entire group of people, contribute to one specific build. Maybe they're making a statue, maybe a jumping puzzle, whatever they have on their mind. It'd be really cool if people could come together and actually make things happen. But this is really difficult to accomplish right now, mainly because of some of the other restrictions I'll talk about in a second. But specifically, when you're trying to build something with someone else, you don't really know what exactly it is they've got their mind on, even if you're saying voice over IP like TeamSpeak or Ventrilo or Mumble or Discord or whatever you're using. Even with the power of the spoken word at your command, it's still very, very difficult to explain the kind of precise object placement you're often going to be wanting to come up with. So let's say you're trying to build a nice big house, you're trying to decide exactly where the floor should go, you're trying to make sure it doesn't clip in just the wrong place. How do you describe to someone that you're about to place something in an area, or you don't want them to delete something in a different area particularly easily? Well, you just can't. And so what could be very powerful, huge groups of people coming together making super impressive builds, we don't in Guild Wars 2 because that communication's not there. Now, the main thing I think that would alleviate this issue is being able to see other players' blueprints before they place them down. What do I mean by blueprints? I mean, in the decorating system, when you attempt to place a decoration, you get kind of a previewed version of what you're about to place, where you're about to place it, complete with its specific rotation at that time. You only see that on your client, though. If other people could also see this, and you could see where they were thinking about putting something, and everyone could see that early blueprint before it was actually dropped, it would mean a lot for group builds, and I think really improve the system just from that social aspect. Another small and personal reason this is making the list for me is one of my favorite browser-based games ever to just waste time on was a game back from the late 2000s called Transfer Mice, which was this hilarious mini-game where you'd have a bunch of people in an area and one man was in control of building a bridge or a platform for everybody to get to the end. And if this blueprint thing came into Guild Wars 2, you could totally start running that game with your guildies and it would be amazing. Trust me, people who play Transfer Mice, they'll know what I mean. Number 9. Player ownership. or a checkbox or something thereabouts. This again is another big improvement for this idea of group building. The fact that these exist in guild halls means you do have to have, in my opinion, some kind of system in place that allows people to designate place decorations as theirs or not, whether they are editable by just the player who originally dropped them or by everyone in the guild. Go back to this idea of a group of people trying to build a house. If you've placed something and you don't want anyone else touching it, you will have no way of stopping that from happening right now. Anyone could go to your entire house that you may have built, you know, spent a week on, and delete the whole damn thing because they didn't like the way it looked, or for other very real reasons we'll get to in a second, and, you know, replace it with whatever they want, and that's just not fair. Basically, right now, because you cannot own a decoration and say, I am the only person who can edit this unless someone with a higher rank in the guild comes along, because we can't do this, we're in an incredibly binary situation where either you can decorate and you are capable of trolling the hell out of everyone, or you can never decorate. And this idea of people group building, having their own individual areas all across the guild hall, just doesn't work right now, because if you have the power to edit in one area, you have the power to edit absolutely everywhere. My proposal here would be something quite simple: a checkbox or a skill you toggle on your decoration bar, which means whatever you place while you're in this mode is kind of yours and no one else will be able to edit it. Other people can delete stuff around it or whatever if you have that flagged differently, but player-specific flagging. And then, yes, I would tie this into the ranking system for the guilds, such that if someone with a higher rank wants to remove what I've placed down, then they're absolutely well within their rights to do it. But again, I'd say that's another checkbox that person would have to click. I want to be able to remove stuff that other people haven't. And then finally, obviously, people with the permission to delete everything in the hall at once can still do that, which is already in the game. This would be really important. Again, help those group-wide builds, but actually just improve the general community attitude towards decorations with most guilds at the moment. Because I'd say many guilds right now don't have very open accessible ranks that can decorate, because they're scared of new players coming into their guilds and then trolling and ruining everything for everyone else. Number 8, keep the decorations UI up after making a selection. Now, for this suggestion, I would say if this were a list I was doing of the easiest to implement but biggest effects, namely what ArenaNet are probably looking at, this would be at the very top. This small change would improve decorating a whole hell of a lot. Basically, the way that it works right now is you toggle into decoration mode, and then you have to press your heal skill 6, to open up a panel that allows you to choose which decoration you actually want to place. But when you choose that decoration, it takes the panel off your screen again. It's not that big. It's not that obnoxious. Decorating would be so much better if that panel stayed there, because the way we're currently playing is we press skill 6, we scroll all the way down, usually to the festival section, because these are the better, more accessible decorations, might add. So we scroll all the way down to the bottom, then we choose our decoration, we place the decoration, and then instead of just being able to go again, we have to press skill 6 and then scroll all the way down, find our place in the list again, and go again and go again. Just leave the panel up. There is no good reason for this to be getting turned off every time we choose a decoration right now, and it's leading to some weird things where people are leaving the entire guild panel up just so that they can quickly get back in. It's just frustrating, and it doesn't have to be there. Number 7, architectural accessibility. So, for those who are a little out of the loop, the way decorations work at the moment is they've got a bunch of different categories. You've got like lighting decorations, you've got plant-based decorations, you've got festival-based decorations, and then there is the architectural decorations. Now, these arguably are the most important, coolest decorations that ArenaNet put in the game, aside from some other like gimmicky and cool little things associated with festivals and stuff. These are the giant walls. These are the things that actually allow you to build structures. Now, yes, we're all well aware that this is called a decoration system, but even ArenaNet themselves, when demoing the system to us before Heart of Thorns came out, they knew that the walls and the giant decorations were some of the most exciting things, because that's what they were showing on that live stream. But the problem is that these big, cool golden walls and corners and large objects that would allow you to build houses and things for yourself are all far too difficult to get. The Super Adventure Box patch was really good for decorating, but only because they actually added large decorations. There have been large decorations in the game the whole time. In fact, if you go over to the arena and look at specifically arena-based decorations, you get access to a lot of walls and pillars and interesting things very, very quickly at a low cost, and it's a real blast to use those in your arena. Why, oh why don't we have the opportunity to do this in our regular halls? This you would expect to be a problem that has been lessened over time since Heart of Thorns came out, as more people have been scribing and as more people have been building up their guild halls and more people have had, you know, less goals and then they decide to go for guild hall based stuff. But even in the face of these facts, you still don't see it happen. It is so difficult to get this stuff. The architectural stuff, the structural based stuff needs to be brought down more in line, and in my opinion, needs to be treated as a distinct aspect of the decorating system that they can expand upon. Because right now, they basically just don't exist, and they're the coolest part of the entire thing and would enable people to do so much more stuff. Number 6. This one's a little bit of a cop-out, but bear with me. Improve the decorations themselves. It's not just the problems in the system, but it's problems with what ArenaNet have put there. We just mentioned the large walls and so forth, but we need more things like this. It's not just about making those walls more accessible. If all they did was that, then you'd just see a bunch of different structures getting built by the community and posted to Reddit or to their friends, or, you know, other guildies would come in and check them out, and they'd all look roughly the same because they're all built out of this same very small, narrow pool of assets. We need more big decorations. We need more things to be added to the game that aren't just through festivals. Can we get a real update that actually looks back at the core categories for decorating and add things to those? Right now, what we're getting is a festival section that is getting increasingly bloated and increasingly wild in its contents. You know, in that area, you can find a single little pumpkin, which is appropriate for actual decoration, alongside giant platforms and ramps and things used to build large new floating islands. That's not the way that this system should be expanded on the future. ArenaNet need to actually add to the real categories and see what people liked about the original categories and what they didn't like, and tailor things accordingly. There are a lot of situations, and this is more associated with scribing, I'd say, than decorating, but there's a lot of situations where a scribe will put a lot of effort into making a decoration that is quite inaccessible and then be thoroughly disappointed with how it looks in the end. ArenaNet do have the power to change this. They just need to go back and improve the actual decorations themselves. Give us plants that aren't potted, for example. People want to be able to put trees that actually look like they are just trees as a part of the landscape, not these potted trees that seem artificial on some level. There are lots of basic things like this the community have been asking for. We need to see go into the system at some point, otherwise it's just going to wither away. Number 5. Fix the damn fatal crash with decorating. So there are actually 2 big crashes that completely lock the game up, the server even up, and will end up kicking you out with decorating at the moment. One of them I don't mind so much, but one of them is really important to me. It's particularly because I am an avid user of combat mode that was added with Heart of Thorns. So, one of the crashes is when you clear the entire guild of all decorations all at once. If you have any amount of decorations really in your hall, it will kick you and everyone else out of that mega server shard and out of your clients entirely and force you to reload. This just doesn't feel too good, but that button doesn't get pressed enough that I think is a major, major issue. It's just something that ArenaNet should know is there and hopefully address at some point. But the far more important one is there is a bug that will fatally crash you out of your clients if you are using combat mode while decorating. So one of the features of decoration that is very, very cool is while you are looking at your blueprint, you can hold left click down to rotate that blueprint to get the exact precise position that you want this thing to land at, and then you can finally drop it in. Problem is, if you're in combat mode and you attempt to use that feature, you've got a reasonably good chance it's just going to break you out of the game. And no, this is not a specific issue with my PC. This has been widely reported. This is well understood to be there, and it really does seem like a very important bug that, for whatever reason, seems to have been ignored, and it's causing me to have to do this really annoying toggling in and out of combat mode all the time while I'm decorating. Just makes it feel fiddly. Combine that with the fact that you can't quite see while using the erasers what is about to be deleted or not unless you have post-processing on. It means whenever I want to do decorating, I have to do an awful lot of fiddling with my in-game settings just to get myself to a place where I feel comfortable that I'm not going to crash and I can actually be of some use. I will add that while recording the footage for this video, I haven't been able to replicate this bug, so maybe it secretly got fixed at some point. Though certainly still, the crash when you clear all decorations still doesn't look very good. Number 4, no clip. So now we're getting to some pretty big suggestions. I mentioned just a second ago about improving the decorations themselves. Well, this suggestion here and the one following it will both serve as things that sincerely help with the amount of variation we see and the kind of things that people can build. So first of all, no clip. The idea of this is that when I'm decorating, I would like to be able to place decorations inside the geometry of other decorations. I want to be able to phase them through one another. And what this would allow people to do is phase decorations into each other in such a way that you can create entirely new looking objects. You can create little ladders or stairways and really intricate detail or even macroscopic detail just by blending together large enough different structures and decorations. No clipping really would improve the amount of things people can do. You can right now sort of no clip things together, especially if you have two people coordinating on an EU server and an NA server shard of the same guild hall, and they place things together, but it's a really clunky mess right now. It's not obviously something that ArenaNet are actually supporting in the engine, and I do think it's something that would be worth a lot. In addition to this idea of no clipping, would be the idea of being able to place stuff randomly about in the sky. So right now you can't place a decoration unless it is touching either the floor, a wall of the actual guild hall, or another decoration. The power to just be able to place a floating island without having to build a whole heap of scaffolding and piles of stuff underneath it to get it there would also be a very powerful tool for the player base. This is a little bit of a controversial decision though, especially this floating island thing, because one of the things I do like about decorating is the effort involved in building the floating islands or getting things to precisely where you like. And this scaffolding idea is a fun concept, and it's been a fun concept for me in other games with systems like this. So honestly, I wouldn't be too sad to live forever in a world where we have to rely on scaffolding, but especially the idea of no clipping things into one another will make things far better for us all as decorators and allow people to make far more wild things. Which leads me handily onto number 3. Allow us to rotate on the Y-axis? Okay, so I'm pretty sure it's the Y-axis I mean here. Right now in-game, as I described with this error that kicks you out of the game if you're in combat mode while you do it, you can rotate a decoration before placing it so that it's got its correct orientation that you'd like. But the thing is, you can only spin it on a single plane. If you could spin it vertically, as in take one of these giant Super Adventure Box platforms. Right now we can spin it, around in circles like a disc on a turntable. If I could instead spin that so that it became a ramp or it became a vertical pillar, it could double up. This single platform could now double up as walls. You could even flip it upside down, and now you not only have ArenaNet added a platform that serves as kind of a grassy flooring for people, but they've also added a platform that serves as a rocky cave platform for people to walk around on. Or you could create these ramp angles and suddenly make much more interesting designs when, say, building large statues and concentrated ideas like that. That's just with the super platforms, which are one of the most basic ideas of a shape you can get in the game. There are loads of other decorations that if you rotate them in the right way, they just simply look like something completely different. And I do understand that some decorations ArenaNet might not want you to rotate because they frankly don't look good from certain angles, like maybe they're completely untextured on one angle so you can see through it. But to that I say, it doesn't matter. What are your player base trying to do with the decoration system? They're trying to make cool looking things. So if there's something ugly about a decoration, people will accept, oh look, this decoration looks kind of ugly from this angle, and they won't use that angle. Yeah, you might get the odd forum post or comment every now and then, depending on how severe the problem got, saying, oh, I wish that so many of these didn't have these issues, but you're still in a better place, even with those complaints going up online, allowing people to rotate stuff than you were if they couldn't rotate them at all. I think you're cutting off your nose to spite your face if that's a reason that we can't do it. This would mean a huge amount for decorating. Combined with no clipping, any single new decoration they add to the game, people are going to get a lot of use out of. And that's good for the developers because it's less effort for them and more playtime out of it for us. Number 2. So we're getting very far on the list now. All right, number 2, a small eraser. And by that, I don't mean the small eraser we've already got. I mean a smaller eraser. So in this video, I've already talked to you guys about the fact that sometimes we have to make scaffolding to place items in certain areas to get the effects that we want. Well, when you've placed said scaffolding, eventually you're going to want to remove that scaffolding, right? Well, good luck with that, buddy, because the only way you can remove stuff in the current decoration system is with 3 different erasers. One of them's very, very, very big. One of them's just a little bit smaller than that. One of them's a little bit smaller than that. All 3 of them are far too large to do any kind of fine detail work. There's an argument out there that you occasionally see where people say, I don't know why you're trying to build big structures and floating islands and jumping puzzles and stuff. This is a decoration system. You're supposed to be just dropping small things like pumpkins and candle holders and torches and things to give a bit of visual flair, little else. There are people who make that argument about the decoration system. Fundamentally, I disagree with that argument, but even if you subscribe to that, can you please explain to me why, if detail work is supposed to be the main focus of this system, we don't have an eraser appropriate for it? The smallest of these erasers will still delete a whole ton of things you don't want it to do. All we need is another skill on our skill bar that is a smaller eraser and affects a smaller area. This alone will add so much quality of life for such a simple change too. One more eraser would be enough. If you go even further than that, it would be nice to be able to scale the eraser somehow. But, you know, I'm not going to hold my breath for massive changes like that. And last of all, my top proposition to improve decorating in Guild Wars 2 is expanding the decoration caps. Now, this may seem like a no-brainer, and it may seem like the kind of thing ArenaNet have tried everything they already can to do, but I do want to discuss this, and I do want to point out how damaging this has been to decorating. So right now, with decorations, there are a few caps in place, but the main 2 I want to talk about right now are the local cap and what is known as the global cap. So the local cap, both of these I propose need expansions sincerely. The local cap is the first one and the primary one most decorators will find themselves hitting. And this is a cap where if you place too many decorations within a small area, you are being restricted and told there are too many decorations there and you can no longer place anymore. So once again, I go back to this point that, oh, we want to be able to do fine detail work. Well, you can't really anyway, because if you want to make a cool little table and chairs with a little campfire next to it, and let's use the pumpkin example, a pumpkin in the corner, and you want to maybe have a plate nearby, or you want to have a chandelier above it or something. If you want to do something like this, each one of those individual items, the table, each individual chair you put in the area, they all count towards this thing known as local cap. Local cap does not care about how big or detailed or intricate any decoration is. If you hit that number within that region, the game's going to tell you can't do anymore. And you will hit this cap very quickly. You're not going to be able to make a dining room. You're not going to be able to make a bedroom. You're not going to be able to make a front doorway. You're not going to be able to make anything at all, really, except just random flavor and torches and lanterns at large across the entire guild hall, which in the end is a pretty massive map. It's those kind of macroscopic things you can do, where you can dump tiny bits of detail every now and then that the decoration system allows you to do, to actually be able to designate an area and say, right, this is my area, I want to, you know, make this into an office or something personal to you. Good luck with that. It is possible, maybe I'm being a bit extreme, you can do a lot of cool stuff, and hopefully the footage in the background is showing you the cool stuff you can do, but none of this comes easily. Now, one of the main things people like doing with the guild halls when they originally came out, when not many decorations were accessible for people, was make jumping puzzles, because you could use pumpkins with a Halloween patch and you could use snow piles with the Winter's Day patch to build big snow bridges and, you know, these floating islands that people can jump across. And we found even trying to do this, that you'd hit decoration cap really, really, really quickly, even though this was one of the best ways to avoid it, because the jumping puzzle kind of takes you on long distances, right? So you avoid that cap as best you can. People said back then that the only reason you were hitting local caps so much was because snow piles themselves aren't really that big, and pumpkins themselves and crates themselves aren't really that big. Well, even with the SAB patch, with these massive platforms you guys have been seeing in the background on this video, even with this, you are still hitting the cap really easily. I built a giant field, as you can see here, and if you think you can place a lot of stuff on this field and, you know, build fun things for yourself, think again. You just can't, because each one of these little platforms underneath it are taking up space in the local cap. They could have been spaced out more efficiently, but it's really frustrating as a decorator to know your creativity is always inhibited. Your creativity is always coming second to keeping under this local cap. It is awful, and I really, really want to see ArenaNet find a way to improve it and allow us to double, triple, even quadruple what that cap currently is. Even if it was 4 times as high as it currently is, I think you'd still find a considerable number of people who hit it, but we would be in a far, far, far better place. The second cap I think that needs to desperately be expanded is the global cap on the guild halls. So the guild halls are large maps. This cap isn't something people are generally on an individual level going to find so much, but you will find as a guild leader, and you will find as a particular community of people who really like decorating, and lots of people have got lots of different projects going on in different areas of these large maps, you'll find it hit you quite quickly. Basically, these huge maps ArenaNet have built can only contain a certain number of decorations total. I've heard all kinds of numbers about this. Honestly, I don't know what it is right now. I just know it's far, far too low. It could be 1,000. It could be 2,000. I think we may have had some dev quotes, but then some people came out and said that these dev quotes were clearly wrong. We'll have to see. But essentially, here's the idea. You, wooden potatoes, want to go to one corner of the map and build a cool thing over by the mine. That's awesome. Go have fun over there, buddy. You, concrete ducks, you want to go to the center of the map and you want to build something cool. That's fine. Go have fun. You, player number 3, you want to go build something over in your corner? That's... Oh, wait, hold on. Player number 3 now can't, because across the entire map, player 1 and 2 have already used up too many decorations. And trust me, player 1 and 2 will use up too many decorations already. There is barely enough room in the global cap right now to allow 4 or 5 individual projects of people. Obviously, it's depending on what those projects are and the amount of decorations each individual project takes up, but people are hitting this global cap massively. And this is a huge problem. Look at a whole category they've got, the trophies, right? Wouldn't it be cool if every guild had a section of their guild filled with loads of different trophies that they've slowly accumulated from world boss kills and raid boss kills and so on? That's what it's for, right? Well, you're not seeing many guilds that actually care about decorating really using the feature, because they hate to waste decorations on just like on a trophy area that's taken up global cap pieces when they could instead be doing far more fancy things. That just eliminated a whole idea, a cool idea that ArenaNet had because of global cap. Even if we lived in a world where this didn't strike people very much, which it does, I would still identify this as a huge problem, and I'll explain why. This is all about being social. This is about building stuff together. This is about building something in an area of the guild hall and bringing your friends over to check it out. When global cap is at play, all this does, and especially considering we're in a world where there is no ability to claim decorations as your own and prevent them from being deleted by other players, all this does is incentivize players to go back to other people's builds and cannibalize them so that they get under the global cap so they can keep building their own stuff. It puts the guilds into a situation where they have to be really restrictive on who can actually decorate. Take my guild for an example. I liked the idea of having a huge community of people where anyone could go in, they can decorate to their heart's content, they can make stuff, and everyone would fill up the hall with all kinds of wild and interesting things. Even if local cap exists, people would find ways to work around it, and you would be able to wander in all these cool, bizarre, remote areas of the hall, of all this wonderful space that the devs have built, and you'd find fantastic creations in all of them. But I can't do that, because the second I enable everybody to decorate, they hit global cap almost instantly. The guild doesn't, the hall in general doesn't look that good, just certain areas will. X has deleted Y stuff, Y's deleted Z stuff. Isn't this one of the core things that Guild Wars 2 doesn't want to do? It doesn't want to promote animosity between its players, and certainly not within people's own guilds, right? So when this problem arises, it is a big problem, and global cap seriously needs to be addressed. With global cap in place, it doesn't matter how big ArenaNet made these wonderful maps, because people, generally speaking, aren't going to go out and explore and claim areas and build cool things for themselves in the secret zones and wherever else. They're just going to put random things in the most highly populated areas, and that's basically all that's available. So that's it, guys. That's my top 10 improvements for decorating. Hopefully from this video you understand exactly where Guild Wars 2's decorating isn't up to snuff. Obviously, when we're fixating on where the system has problems, where it can be improved, it can sound like, you know, a bit of a downer, like it's really not very good at all. I would like to reiterate what I said at the start of the video, that this is still, to me, one of the biggest areas of untapped potential in all of Guild Wars 2. And with any luck, the footage in the background has already been demonstrating that to you guys. With an enough talent and time, you can do some incredible things, just like you've seen my guildies have managed to do in our hall, as other guildies have managed to do in other halls, and there is still a lot of opportunity there. It is improving as the devs continue to drop updates in the game, but these are the 10 areas, I think, that really do hold the system back still. I will say on that last thing about the caps, I did mention that it was kind of a silly suggestion because obviously I think ArenaNet already understand and people in general know that these caps are dangerous things, and ArenaNet probably have done the best they can to improve them. I'm just guessing there needs to be some serious architectural server game engine style changes to make these caps be raised. But I do think if that doesn't happen, that the entire system is going to remain limp for forevermore. And in ArenaNet's credit, just a little, I am already noticing, and this is going to sound bizarre, I am already noticing in this SAB guild hall, I sometimes crash out. Not the crashes I talked about specifically, but sometimes I'll just get disconnected from the server. It's not an internet thing. And I'm pretty sure it's because ArenaNet are already pushing those caps as far as they can, and it's already causing a bit of instability. So maybe ArenaNet have gone as far hard as they can as it stands, but we will see where things go in the future. But there you go, guys. If I missed anything, let me know. Hopefully this has been at least somewhat interesting to you. I do plan on doing one more video about the guild stuff. I don't know whether it will be this week, but I do want to do one more video, and this is on guild progression, the actual building up of the areas, leveling your guild up, increasing your mine, all of those kinds of elements of the system, because our guild is about to hit max level, and when we do, you can be sure I'll have a lot of cool information for you guys at that point. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Have a wonderful evening. I'll see you next time. No! It gave me like nothing! Nothing! Oh! I'm a broken man. It's over.